Good afternoon. Can you all hear me? It's a nice lively place and it's great to have a lot of buzz and noise in the middle of the university, but not always the easiest an occasion like this. Anyway, you're all very welcome. I'm Bill McCarthy, Deputy Vice-Chancellor Operations here at the University of Bradford, and I'm delighted that so many people found the time to come and participate in, I think, one of the quirkier elements of our 50th anniversary celebrations. 1991, an economy struggling to come out of recession, the Bank of England busily chasing corrupt bankers around the country, a British astronaut in space, and the Conservative Prime Minister besieged by wars over Europe. How things have changed. But it was in 1991 that Professor David Johns, our former Vice-Chancellor, had, I think, a great idea of inviting staff from across the university to come up with suggestions for what would be appropriate to put into a time capsule, which would then be opened, locked away, buried under the Richmond foyer and opened 25 years later now for our 50th anniversary. And that's where the struggles, the challenges began for our communications team. The first challenge was how to find the time capsule. Buried under Richmond building foyer. Well, just before we got the diggers in, fortunately we found it hidden away, a locked box, in the Director of External Affairs' personal safe. Mark, what else have you got in there? So, first problem solved. Second problem. They found the locked box, but the key wasn't there. Luckily, the finest locksmiths in Bradford came to the rescue, and we have an open box with all the contents available to be looked at today. And then on to the final challenge, which was how could we find speakers who would grace the occasion. It is an important occasion, a great occasion, celebrating our 50th anniversary. Who could we ask to explain a little bit about what was put away in the time capsule? And I'm delighted to say that the team absolutely came up trumps on that one, a huge success, because I can introduce you today to Alison Cullingford, our Special Collections librarian, and to Professor Peter Excel across there. And Peter was one of the prize winners when the competition was open to find people who had ideas for contents. Peter, an alumnus of the university and also a distinguished academic member of staff. Delighted to welcome both Alison and Peter. But just before handing across and letting them talk a little bit about the contents, and after that you'll get the chance yourselves to come and have a look, have a go on the touch screens where we've got some great images. Just before I hand across, I want to remind us that there's another competition just open. We're going to relock the box in October, and before then we want your new ideas. We want great ideas for what we can put in it to celebrate 50 years. Now I'm hoping that you'll be creative and you'll come up with ideas that celebrate our innovative teaching and research over the past 50 years. Perhaps that remind us of the great tradition we've got of social justice in this university, and some things which will look ahead to our future as a great technology university. So be creative, get those juices flowing. There are members of the comms team here today who'll take your ideas on the whiteboards, but there'll be lots of chances over the coming weeks and months. So thank you, and now I'm going to hand across to Alison, who will tell us a little bit more about the box.
Right, thank you, Bill. Can everybody hear me? Okay. Right, I'm Alison Cullingford. I look after the special collections, which includes the University Archive. I wasn't here in 1991. I was a student at another university called Sheffield University, but we won't talk about that. Some of you were probably here, some of you weren't born. You know, it's 25 years ago. 25 years ago today, this very day, just over there in Richmond Foyer, David Johns, the Vice-Chancellor, and Roger Suddards, the Head of Council, locked this box away. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what's in it. Has anyone guessed what's in it? Now's your chance. Would anyone like to guess who might have owned this? This absolutely enormous tie. No, it was Sir John Harvey-Jones. Older listeners may remember that he was Chancellor of the University from 1986 to 1991. He was at the time a very famous industrialist. He was chair of ICI, and he was also becoming famous because of television. He was a troubleshooter. He'd go around to businesses and tell people what they were doing wrong. He was very much a larger-than-life character, and his ties were enormous. And several people in the competition suggested his tie, so they actually had a tie for the tie. If you entered the competition, in those days you won a good bottle of sparkling wine. So I think rather than sharing the wine, they picked somebody out of a hat for this one. Is that one? Okay. Anyone want to guess what this is? Yes. We have over 70 pipes in special collections, but none of them were Harold Wilson's. J.B. Priestley's. I've got a wonderful photo of them both doing that. Harold Wilson, for those who don't know, he was the British Prime Minister on 2 occasions. He was a Labour politician, he was from Huddersfield. And he was our first Chancellor. He was Chancellor from 1966 to 1986. He was a really good friend to the university. By 1991, his health was failing. He was very ill by that stage. So he didn't come to any events, but he sent a pipe, and it got buried. Somebody suggested we could clone him from the DNA on the pipe, but I don't know that anyone can do that. This is actually my favourite item. You see, I knew what was in here because we've got the list. This is actually a menu for the refectory, which I think was up there. I think, and everything was sort of 70p. So you've got quiche and spaghetti and cheese omelette. Cheese omelette was 80p. Ham salad was £1, good value, and steamed strawberry sponge was 30p. I mean, top value that. And you could actually have the whole sweet trolley for 40 pence. It wasn't shillings, by the way, it wasn't actually pence then. This is really special. It's a special piece of music that was composed for the 25th anniversary by Graham Copeland, who was fellow in music. And it was first performed on the day of the locking. I think they would have done the locking and then gone to the concert, but I don't have the programme of events, so who knows. But it was actually a unique piece of music just for us. So it would be rather wonderful to have another performance of it. So, not see any music people, but yeah, that would be worth thinking about. This is another favourite. Does anyone remember having a calculator? What is awesome about this one? It still works. 25 years on. We open it and it's on. Awesome. For anyone who doesn't remember these, instead of computers, you type in your sums into them and you get an answer. And I remember getting one of these and it was brilliant. I don't think this is anything particular to do with the university. I think it's to do with student life and how people studied in that period. This is an example of something to do with research here. You probably can't see what it is, It's a little pack of something that is a wound retractor to hold back wounds. It won the prize, and it was developed by Dr. David Sharp. He won a prize for it in 1988, and it was to do with how you treat burns and other kinds of wounds. So it's one of the many things this university has done to improve health. In 1991, we didn't have health studies then, they joined us later, but we were still active in trying to make people's lives better. And I think this is a real example of how we went about. And finally, it's a bit of a telephone. It's from the old telephone exchange which closed in 1991. It was apparently, it had been there all along. And I know very little about that telephone exchange, so if anyone knows anything about it, I'd love to know more. But that's what phones look like, and you couldn't do that. Well, that's all I wanted to show you now. What's going to happen now is I'm going to hand over to Professor Excel, who'll talk a little bit about his experiences as one of the competition winners. And then when that's over, we'll get an opportunity to come and have a look at the things. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Thank you.
Hi there. Well, I joined the university in 1971, so I've been here 20 years in 1991. And there was the competition to suggest artifacts to go in the time capsule. I have to say the piece that I put in has disappeared. It's on the list there. I promised to provide a replacement. So I'll say something about that because I was really looking forward to telling you about it. It's really quite a salutary lesson for anybody's career. In the mid-1980s, 1986-87, some researchers at IBM in Zurich discovered high-temperature superconductivity. So this was a new type of electrical conductor that conducted electricity at much higher temperatures than the previous types. Previous types had to be cooled to about 10 degrees Kelvin. This stuff worked at 77 degrees Kelvin, which was a big improvement. And I honestly thought it was going to change the world. I really did. I said to people, this is the most fantastic discovery of my career, and it's second only to anti-gravity. And it didn't change the world. And that is a really salutary lesson, which I expect the real lesson is don't put all your eggs in one basket. I didn't at the time. I pursued other areas of research as well, but I really thought that was going to be the big one. Now, where the sample of that stuff has gone, I don't know, but fortunately I have more at my house and I'm going to donate it back. It was yttrium, barium, copper oxide, very complex stuff with a slightly reduced oxide for those who are real chemists among us. So, salutary lesson. Now let me say some words about other things. Harvey Jones's tie. I don't think he wore these all the time, but when it came to graduation ceremonies, he'd be there in his grandiose gown, and he would definitely be wearing this then. And he'd look at the others of us in the procession and say, good enough, not good enough, boring tie, not good enough, got to have something really loud like this. Unfortunately, I did have a really loud one. I think I've given it away now, but that was Harvey Jones's big thing. Harvey Jones is a larger-than-life character with big hair, unlike me, and big personality. Pipes, of course, a bit of social history there. In those days, Harold, I never saw Harold smoking a pipe, but he would usually have it in his teeth. You see pictures of him signing autographs for students with this dangling out of his teeth. And indeed, Tony Benn used to have one as well. It was just the done thing, and it's all a bit of forgotten social history. The refectory, for your information, was on the top floor up there to the right. The telephone exchange was down there, just near where the security desk is now. And there were about 4 nice ladies in there. And this would be fixed to the bench, and they would then have a wall of sockets, and indeed there's also this bit of cable of theirs, and they will plug it into a socket and connect you. And if you wanted an international call, or if you wanted to send a telex, you had to go down there and plead with them. So it was good to be in charge, rather like there was a version of Shakespeare's Macbeth a few years ago, a modern version of Shakespeare's Macbeth, where the witches were represented by dustmen, and they said, we're dustmen, we know everything. And the security staff and the telephone exchange ladies were the people who knew everything, not much more than the bosses. The music, the fellow in music was quite a recent creation about that time. I'm trying to remember. No, I think David. I think the first Vice Chancellor had Red Ted Edwards had introduced it, but it probably is linked to the Bradford computing organ that was developed by people in the computing department, Peter Comerford and Lucy Comerford. So I strongly suspect they will have contributed to that. Okay, David Johns was the Vice Chancellor, a dynamic character that we poached from City University of Hong Kong. He's still around, lives in Harrogate, but he's unable to be here today as he's in the south of England. But did great things to bring the university forward. So I look forward to more progression. We've been discussing whether a time capsule should be sealed for a longer period, like 50 years. The trouble is that you won't have anyone like me around who can comment on it if you wait 50 years. I remember at the time I thought 25 years seems a rather short time, but and indeed 1991 just seems like yesterday when you're my age. But I guess opening it in 25 years is a good idea because there will still be someone around who can make comments on it. So there is a longer list of what should be in there. These are only a selection that the ladies have pulled out. Oh, perhaps I should just say something about this wound retractor. I'm not absolutely sure, but I think this is linked to the people that worked on the Bradford fire and that sort of thing, wound protection. They're quite a big business linked with St Luke's Hospital on treatment of wounds. So I think there's an interesting history there. If someone tells you when the Bradford fire was, we might link that together. So anyway, okay, thank you for listening. There's more to be looked at and the list to be looked at. So, and I'm happy to give any other information, things I've missed out.
Many thanks to Alison and Peter. The rest of the afternoon's for you. We're laying out the more objects as well. I think Alison's got hidden under the table. Do go across and use the touch screen as well for those images. Enjoy the afternoon. Thank you very much for coming.
Nice to meet you.